Hi, welcome back. I was just going to make a fairy house and I thought I would come on and show you my process, how I do it. I've made a few in the past. This is one that's very simple, kind of looks like a little tree stump. The door is open, it has a little window in it and some flowers growing on the front of it. And it has an open roof. And this is a very simple one. This one is a little bit more complicated. It has the open door and it has some flowers. I even have let's see if I can get a little closer. It even has a candle in the window and it has a little chimney and some leaf detail and some vining and some flowers. And here's a little rain barrel with a snail on it. And you can see I've got some little no-hole beads here that look like raindrops going down into the rain barrel. And this was a lot of fun to make. For this one, I did the yellow polymer clay inside to make it look like the lights were on. So I thought maybe you would like to come along and make a fairy house with me. Let's see. First I'll show you some of my materials. I'm using scrap clay. I'm just trying to use up things that I have. So I've been running clay through my pasta machine and I've got this combination of oranges and I form it on nothing fancy. This is a toilet tissue roll. So for more than just toilet tissue journals. So this is how I started. I just put a piece of aluminum foil around the toilet tissue roll. I did put a little bit of cellophane tape to hold the foil on. And then I take a very thin piece, and this time I'm going to use the orange clay inside, and I wrapped it around. This piece isn't quite wide enough. So what I'll do is I will take my blade and I will just cut another strip that looks like it'll be about the right size. This is too tall, but doesn't really need to be exact anyway because most of this won't even show. And I'll just take my blade and cut that bottom piece off. Now, the one thing you do want to be careful as you layer clay is that you don't have any air bubbles. Eventually, when this is done, I'm going to take the toilet paper roll out. So I will bake this bottom part before I do anything as far as a roof goes. So anyway, there's the outside of the fairy house. Now, you'll see in this fairy house there's some marbling where a tree bark isn't necessarily all one color. So for that I have a piece of scrap clay. I think I used when I made some dragon's eyes, and it's already got some modeling in it from greens and things. And I've been using my mug warmer and a clay tile to keep the clay soft and pliable. So let me just run this clay through my pasta machine. Of course I forgot to switch my pasta machine, so it's on a very thin setting, probably thinner than I wanted. Let me see if I can move a little bit out of my way because there's a lot of things on my tile right now. So here's the brown that I just ran through my pasta machine, and you can see this is really thin. So I may, no, I'm going to just wing it. So I'll cut a piece off. I mean, you can measure this. To be honest, I very rarely measure anything. I just make it as I go, just like I make everything else. So I'm just going to wrap this clay around my toilet tissue roll. Carefully pick my blade up so I don't cut myself. I'm going to find where this clay overlaps, and I'm going to take this and I'm going to cut all the way through. Okay, and then I'm going to just pull this off, then I'm going to lift. I'm going to try. Oh, that was almost perfect, so I'm just going to leave it, and then I'm going to smooth out the seam. Then I'm going to take my tube and I'm just going to roll it a little bit, and that'll help put the orange clay and the brown clay together. Okay, now the end is very uneven, so again I'm just going to take my blade, find the end of the tube, and I'm just going to slice that extra clay off to even it out. Easy peasy. Okay, and I'll just set it up like that. Okay, so the top edge is kind of roughly and uneven, so I can feel where the orange layer comes up to. So I'm just going to take my blade and just, it doesn't have to be straight. This is going to be a fairy house kind of tree trunk type deal. So I'm just going to cut a line and pull this off. And it doesn't matter that there's a little orange clay in here because it's all going to add to the dimension that I'm going to put on here as I build it out. So here I have the start of my fairy house. Pretty easy. I'm just going to take my fingers, I'm going to hold the inside of the toilet roll just to give it a little bit of support. And I've got my thumb inside. And I'm just using my fingers, closing up that seam. And you can see there's still orange showing at the bottom and stuff, but we'll take care of that as we go along. Okay. And you probably can't see it, but there's a bubble right there. So what I'm going to do is take my blade, and I'm just going to take the tip of it, and I'm going to put a few little holes, and then rub it, and the air will come out, and that takes care of the bubbles. Just going to take one more quick look just to make sure that there aren't any more. The seam in the back is pretty obvious still, but that'll be taken care of with subsequent things that I put on. Now, you can freehand cut this. When I made my first little, or I don't know if it was my first, but when I made this one, this was a freehand cut, like dormouse hole in the bottom of the tree trunk. And I made diamond-shaped windows, and it was all very organic. For this one, I've got a leaf cutter, and I'm going to use my biggest one. Now, if you're interested in things like this, I think I either bought this on Amazon by looking up clay cutters, or I think you can also buy these on eBay. So then I'm just going to take my leaf cutter, and I'm going to put my hand inside, and there goes the dog, because I think the mailman's here. And I'm just going to press to get a good impression in the clay. See? And I think I went a little beyond the bottom so that it's, when I remove the cutter, it's got the leaf shape impressed in there. And then I'm going to take a little piece of the brown, I'm going to move my thing out of the way, and maybe a little bit more of that orange that I started with. I'm just going to make a little ball. I'm going to squish it all together, mix it up a little bit, roll it into a log. You saw me do this with the dragon eye if you saw my dragon's eye tutorial. Just another way of making kind of striped canes. This is what you would do to make a candy cane. See how it's coming into kind of a pretty stripe? I'm going to take this end and spin it some more. I'm just going to go back and forth and make it nice and thin. Okay. Then I'm going to take this little thin end, and on one side of this leaf, I'm going to make it a little bit tall. But I'm going to come down one side of my leaf shape with just a straight piece. Press it a little bit to attach it to the clay. Take my blade. I'm going to cut it off so it's kind of even with the bottom clay. And this top piece, I think I'm just going to curl just a little bit. And then I'm going to take, looking for my tools. Well, I have my dental tool. It's got kind of the spoon shape on the bottom. You could use a toothpick, a plastic spoon, a plastic knife, really anything that you have. Tongue depressor, whatever you have that you can use. And I'm just kind of sealing where I cut that leaf shape a little bit on that side. And then I'm taking the edge of that little curl I just did, and I'm kind of pulling that down into the base also. Because eventually, this is really thin. I didn't realize how thin this is. Eventually I'm going to reach under here, and this is going to be the door. Okay, so I've got that all loosened up, and eventually it will just open up, and there, that'll be the door. But for now I'm going to leave it down because I haven't put a window in there yet. So I'm just going to take this tool. It kind of has a I don't know, a pointed spade type end. It's small, but it's pointy. And I'm just going to cut in the door. I'm going to hold on to it so it doesn't move too much. And very carefully, I'm going to cut like a diamond shape out of the leaf, right there. And I'm cutting all the way through, right down to the foil. See? So that piece can come right out of there. And that's what we have so far. Okay? So let's see, maybe we'll put some windows in before we go too much further. So I think over here I want to do kind of an arched window. Not too big, because I might put a roof over it and a rain barrel under it. So that's all I'm doing, is cutting these shapes out while the clay is raw and while it's on the toilet paper tube. And all of my little scrap pieces I'm just putting in a pile because I will go back and use them to make some of the trims and things. Let's see. I think we'll put another window over here. And let's see. Maybe I'll do a diamond shape here too, just like in the door. I'm not going all the way to the top because I may cut part of the top of this house off. I may make it a little bit shorter. My clock is going to chime, so I'm going to pause the video and come back so you don't have to listen to it chime, because it's going to chime a lot. So there's that window, the door, and another window, and this is pretty much the hinge, and I will be back in just a second. Okay, I'm back. Let's see, so we've got the windows and the doors in. I'm going to take that snake that I made, that little coil, and I'm going to put it, I think, around the door window first. I'm just going to fit it in. Oh, that's a little bit too fat. So I'm going to roll it down a little bit more. Make it nice and thin. Got the little bumps. Now you can use a clay extruder for this too. I have a clay extruder. I'm just kind of lazy. I'm going to get it out and use it and then clean it up. And I kind of like doing everything as simply as I can. I get to spend more time doing stuff and less time trying to figure out where I put things and all that. Okay, so I've got the door window is trimmed. I'm going to change this up just a little bit. I'm going to double it over and spin it again. Losing a lot of my oranges now, turning a different brown color, which isn't a bad thing. Okay, so now I'm going to do this window. So I'm just going to go in here. And go all around this window frame. I'm not even cutting it, I'm just fitting it in. You can come back and put flowers on it and put a candle in the window. You can do all kinds of things. I like to think fairies live in these little houses in the woods. The shape of this kind of changed to almost a flame shape or a leaf shape, which is good. I kind of just go with it. Now I'm going to build up the bottom of that window, like a extended windowsill a little bit, the same color, just a little teeny piece of clay, and I'm just going to put it on the outside edge like that. So now there's a little bit of a windowsill on the outside of that little window. And then I'm going to take, see, I have a whole, most people don't do this, I just have a stack of clay because I just conditioned a bunch of it. So I'm going to try to pull some of my clay apart. It does kind of all get stuck together, but that's all right for me because it's all scrap, and if I don't use it today, I will probably get rid of it. So I'm going to take a little tiny bit of yellow and condition it a little bit more. And I'm going to make a candle flame out of it. You know, I'm just trying to get down to the white clay because I want to make a little candlestick. So it doesn't take much because this is just going to be one single candlestick sitting in a window. Now you could take a gold bead and make a little holder for your candle. I don't have any gold beads out right now, so I won't be doing that. I need to take my knife. There's my little candle. It's too big, so I'm just going to cut the very tip of it off. And we're talking a very tiny piece. And I'm going to go in where I put the windowsill and the window. And I'm just going to set my little candle in there. And then I just need to take my tool and kind of hopefully keep it in the middle. I'm trying to, there. I want it to sit up. Okay. And then I'm going to take a very little teeny ball of yellow. Not very big at all. It's like half of that. I'll roll it a little bit. Whoop. I think my clay got a little bit too warm on the tile while I was getting ready to do things. And when that happens, it cooks, and it's not much good. So if your clay starts to crumble, like mine did, I'm afraid it's time to get out new clay and start again. But I will just go on using different colors. Now you could put this on a toothpick and put the toothpick down into the clay, and that would give it more stability once the toilet paper tube is out from behind it. But we'll see how this goes. Okay, so there's our candle in the window. And now I just need to do some more window framing and put a border on the bottom of it, and then open the door and trim around the frame and put some flowers on, and maybe, I don't know, a few other things. So here we're going to just spiral some of this brown and white clay. This will have a nice contrast. I'm going to take off the end because it's mostly brown, and I'm going to fold it in half, twist it again, roll it, twist it. Continue making snakes. Okay, make that just a little bit thinner. I can probably cut it in half. You can build little fairies out of flowers or fabric, or even more polymer clay to put in your fairy house. Right now we're going to trim this window out. All I'm going to do, and what you can do is you can start off the edge, leave a little tail here and line across the bottom. And you can cut it. You don't have to keep going. You can cut it off here. And kind of, stick it down. And then when you get over to this corner, you can make a little curl as though it's a vine and it's curling up and around. And then you can take more make it maybe a little thinner. I think I'll put more white in it because I'm kind of getting down to where it's mostly brown. I would like more light color. Maybe I'll add a little pinch of yellow into it too. Roll it. And roll it. And then spin it, make it a little bit striped. I love to watch this happen. I think this is just so pretty. Cut that little piece off. Roll it down a little bit more. And just thin it out some. Apply pressure and just roll it. You don't want to pull too hard because you'll get too thin. Although if it breaks, that's fine because I've got way too much for this window. Okay. And I like the yellow side the best, so I'm just going to let that break off. Put that down to a little point. Find the window again, and I'm going to come up from this side and just put that on. I'm going to push it down, get it all so it's going together. Might curl this little side up too. And you take your time. I would take my time and do a better job than this. I'm just trying to give you an idea of my process and how I make polymer clay fairy houses. And then I might take a little bit of, I'll take all this scrap clay that I was just using and the cutouts from the windows and put it all together in my hand again. Maybe a little bit more of the white. Trying to get a little bit of the, I've got some green in here. Take a little green and add to it. Just mix it up. I think I'm going to need more yellow. I'm not a yellow person. I'm not a big fan of the color yellow. But I find that yellow, when you're building things like this, is one of those colors that helps add a little sparkle. And I don't know, light, I guess. And this I'm going to use, I'm going to spin this a little bit too. Just to stay with the striped contour of everything. Okay, roll it out some. This is going to be the base of the house, so I'm just going to go start, let's see, where shall I start? I'm going to start behind the window, one window, back in the back, and then I'm just going to come around as far as the door, and I'm going to cut it because I need to be able to open the door. So then I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to go roll that down a little bit and start on this side of the door. And I will go back around to the back of the house, or where I started, and cut it down. And then I'm just going to press everything and bring it together. Kind of fun, huh? And I am going to bake it like this. I'm going to kind of loosen up the core out of the center of it, but I will bake it while it's on the tube. That'll help give it a little bit of strength. But I have to have the door in the final condition that I want it to be in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back. I don't know if you can see it, and it's kind of a happy accident. I think it's probably from the cutter I used, but right here there's like this branching going up the door, and it kind of makes it look like it's, you know, a leaf that being over the door. So I'm going to continue that up with my tool. I'm going to take it and just kind of continue making those lines. Not going too deep into my clay because I don't want to go through it. I just want to give the illusion that this is a leaf and it's what the fairy's using for a door. So there's the lines I drew. And then I might take, and I have a red clay that I've mixed with some yellow and the orange, and it's made kind of a, I don't know, kind of a orangey rosy color. Now there's a lot of ways to make flowers in polymer clay, and one way to make this type of a flower that looks like it has petals in the yellow center is to roll a skinny log. And you can do it by making individual balls right from the start, but I find it's easier to make a log, and then you can take your knife and you just cut kind of equal pieces. And then what you can do is you take these little tiny pieces that you cut and you make them into balls. Okay? Or close to balls, because you're just going to roll them in your finger. Or you can roll them on the table. I'm going to get it off my finger. Okay, here's another one. Kind of easier just to do it in your fingers. And they should all be kind of the same size, although it doesn't matter because even in nature, you know, things aren't always perfectly symmetrical. And then you can just take the little balls and you put them together kind of in a circle. If your clay is really sticky, it can be a very interesting prospect. So there I have them like all lined up and together, and then I'm just going to connect my circle. And just kind of pat them together like that. And then take a piece of yellow and make another little ball. Yes, another little thing. And make a little flower like that. If you have a cutter, however, which I do, you make a little flat piece, kind of like that. Then you take your little flower cutter and you do it like this, and it just kind of cuts this little flower, and then you poke it out, and you have an even smaller flower. And like I said, you can find those cutters on Amazon and on eBay. They come from China, and they're fairly inexpensive. And then you can put a little center in that too. So let's see, back to the door. I'm going to reach underneath the orange polymer clay that I used as a base, and I'm just loosening it up all the way up so that door opens up. Because I like the doors open. Sometimes I don't open them all that far, but I still like to have them open. I am going to bake this and then do more to it afterwards. But that's the start. The door is open. The candle's in the window. I do want to do a chimney which I'm going to make out of this red and orange combination, because it kind of has a little bit of pink in it, and I like the paleness of it. I'm really getting crowded here, I'm sorry. So I'm going to do a spiral, kind of. And it doesn't have to be very big. And then what I've got to do is find my toothpick. And I'm just going to take my spiral. And I'm going to wrap this around, kind of very gently. Trying not to stick it down onto the toothpick. I do want the clay to stick to itself, but I don't want this piece to stick to the toothpick. Okay? And then that's kind of blurry, but that's the chimney. And what I'm going to do is put that down for a second, because I want to build a little overhang over this window so I can put a rain barrel on it. I think I'll do that with the brown clay. And a little bit of the orange clay. And I may even add some of that color I just made the chimney out of too. Okay. Now what I did with this in the original fairy house was I built kind of a fungus shape, like one of the pieces that you see growing on the outside of a tree, a dead tree, and I put a little roof attachment on it that I then put the beads from. So what I will do here is I just want to make it a roof kind of on the, over the window, like an awning. So here I'm just going to twist this up a little bit. Now I don't want this to be too thin, so there, that should be good. I'm going to roll a ball, and then I'm going to flatten this a little bit. And this is kind of a football shape. And I'm going to just find the top of the window, and I'm going to hook one end of the football, and I'm going to put the other end of the football. And then I'm going to take my tool, and I'm just going to take some clay from the top of the roof and press it back into the wall, kind of spreading it. Okay. I'm going to thin out the outer edge a little bit. Just pinch it. Oh, sorry, just pinch it. Push it back a little. And then maybe might even take that flower I made. But I get it to hold together and put it right there. Poking it a little bit just to try to get the clay to attach to itself. And maybe I'll take this little punched flower that I made, and I'll put this up where I've got the door hinge started. And I think for this one, I'm going to take my toothpick and I'm just going to press down through the center of the little ball, yellow ball of the center of the flower, and do that. And then I want to make a little rain barrel. So with this piece that is left over, and maybe this little piece of brown that I cut off from a previous snake, I'm going to make a little rain barrel. I don't know why these spirals make me think of, you know, fantasy, and I guess maybe rainbows, because rainbows are striped. Don't know. So I've got a little bit of a stripe going on, and I'm just flattening it out between my fingers. Then I'm going to cut the end off, maybe add it to the other end, so now it's getting wider, and I'm just pressing it together using my fingers. Maybe I'll use my toothpick and flatten it out. Now it puts a few little lines in it, which little lines never hurt, especially on something this little. And it gives it a little hint of woodland authenticity. And I'm going to take my blade, sharp side away from me this time, as usual, and pick it back up. Now this is the outside of my rain barrel. And I'm going to find I use the back of a paintbrush because I want it to be bigger than the, and I'm just going to, well, I need it to be bigger than that. Let's see, yeah, here's a bigger paintbrush. I'm going to use this, and I'm just going to take it down towards the end so I can slide it off easily enough. I don't want it to overlap. I just want it to meet. And then I'll cut it. And then I'm going to put it together. Cover up the seam, although the seam... Okay, well, my battery died, but I'm back. Waiting to see if my camera focuses. Maybe I have it in too tight. There it goes. So all I did was even off this edge of what is going to be the rain barrel that I'm going to put on the outside of the house. And then I'm just going to come under here with my tool and loosen this up just a little bit. Trying to decide if having this slanted paintbrush, sorry, is going to help or hinder me. And all I'm doing is running this around, kind of like, just to loosen it all up. There it goes. And then I'll just slide that off. And there's the rain barrel. And for that, I'm going to put it underneath this window right here. And we'll put the short kind of cut piece in the back. And I'm just going to take this tool and kind of go up inside it. Now I've got my finger inside. Got my finger inside the tube. And my tool is going down in from the top. And I'm just pressing, putting this rain barrel snug against the side of my fairy house. Okay? And then I'm going to take another piece of the extra brown clay, and I'm just going to make a base for underneath. I'll take some of the more brown. Knead it all together. And I'm just basically making a ball and flattening it into a bottom piece. Because you can see this rain barrel sits above the bottom of the house. So I just want to make a little piece that's going to look like a bottom to this rain barrel and even up the bottom of the house. Be flush with the bottom of the house. So what I'm going to do at that point is I'm going to take that little piece I just made, since it's way too big, and I'm going to cut it in half. So now it's a moon shape. And I just want it to fit the bottom of my rain barrel. And I'm going to take my tool, and I'm just going to make some slash marks here. And it's just going to kind of marry it to the clay that's already on the bottom. Oops, I'm sorry, I'm out of frame. All I did is make some marks that kind of blended it with that. And I'm going to take the other end of my tool, the spoon shape, and just kind of smooth it out a little. It doesn't have to be fancy, because that is, oops, sorry, it is the bottom of the barrel, so to speak. And that's the rain barrel. Now, I can wait, because in this rain barrel, see if I've got it right here, I've got a little snail on it, and I did some trail with some of the clear no-hole beads, and there's some flowers lining here and some leaves. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to stop the video and do a part 2, and I'll come back and we'll continue on with doing some decorations on the fairy house. We'll take the tube out, do some decorating, add some more flowers, the chimney, and the roof. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned for part 2, and I will see you in the next one. Have a very colorful day. Thanks for watching.